Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of The Points of Articulation. My name's Dave and if you're new to the channel, welcome! Today we're looking at the Star Wars Titanium C-9979 landing craft. Now the C-9979 landing craft was used by the Trade Federation and the CIS during the Clone Wars, and I just like to call it the Trade Federation landing craft. Now this vehicle was first seen in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now a lot of people have issues with the prequels, but I love the designs of the vehicles. I think they excelled with that. And the Trade Federation battleships were beautiful, and how they landed an invasion force, I thought was amazing. Basically, dozens of these bad boys would land on a planet, for example, Naboo, and then out of them would come dozens of AATs, which are Trade Federation tanks, and also the MTT transports would come out of this bad boy, and each of them holds dozens of battle droids, so you have a small army in each one of these. So this might be a very wide vessel and large in the Star Wars universe, but for this little model here, we're looking at 1 3/4 inches long and around 4 1/4 inches wide, which is very nice. So we do have a lot to talk about today. We're going to look at the mold, the paint, put on a stand, compare it to some other ships, and then we'll be done. So let's get moving. Alright, kicking this review off looking at the mold. Like always, we'll look at the main points of the vessel and then go in close to look at that fine detail. So first of all, on the wings, we have blasters on the tips, turrets on the front right here, and those do rotate. They're a little hindered by this plate in here and the midsection there, but that's understandable. Both of them also rotate, not just one, so that's a nice addition. Now moving on back, we have our control center and all that leading back to the engines, which are nicely done. Now the neat thing is, in these wings, they have tons of tanks and MTs and everything like that. And what would happen is they move down a conveyor belt, basically, into this bottom section here. And then this actually opens up, and we'll get a better look at this when we zoom in. But inside there, we can see a tiny MTT. So that's pretty sick. So these doors do open, and that is a beautiful touch. Then on the bottom, we have our peg port for the stand, a screw holding it together, copyright crap, and that's basically it. So now let's get up close and personal with this bad boy. Alright, having a closer look, we can see it was actually made in 1999 to go along with the release of The Phantom Menace, which makes this an older model, but don't let that scare you. It actually does have a lot of detail, and just look at all this stuff. This is beautiful. Now it is a little rounded in areas, but it's not too bad. And the back here, pretty nice, leading up to those engines. Pretty sick. Coming around this side, same as the other, just tons of little details. And here on the door, the detail is kind of lost in the sauce, but it is there. And if we open these doors up, you can see a great, almost like a giant vent on top. Some details on the walls. And then here we have a little MTT. And we can see the opening door, the guns. That's pretty awesome. And that just closes like so. Now heading up, we have our underside of the wings. These circles are basically the little pegs holding the guns in place, and we'll look at them later. But look at all that detail. That is sick. Coming down the wings, beautiful lines, little modules here and there. Blaster. And on this side, again, nice panels and armor. And another blaster. Looking at the engines and the back wings. Just beautifully done. I think they did a decent job. Again, this was made in 1999, so keep that in mind. We also have some details on the edges of the wing. So that's pretty sharp. They didn't have to do that, but they did. And also the interior of the first wings as well. Pretty sick. Now for the tops. Again, the paint kind of ruined the detail here. Like I said, it's kind of bubbly. But you can see underneath that paint, there is a bunch of lines and panels, little raised sections, but just lost, which is kind of a shame. I love this section here with the triangles. I think that came out decent. Bunch of raised sections, that's pretty awesome. Coming down the wing. Again, there's the detail, but it's kind of covered up, which sucks. But coming around the front, Just beautifully done, and I love this round section. We got our wings. Amazing. Love the blasters too. It's a nice touch. We do have detail on the fronts, so that's awesome. And again, this grate that we started looking at down here comes up. You can see mine has a little paint wear. You can see the metal die cast underneath. There's some great detail in there. Now for the guns, I think they did a decent job. We can see the barrels are there. They're separated in the front, and they do rotate. And they do have some detail on them, so that's pretty sick. So that does it for the mold. Pretty good. The paint's covering up some of it, which is a shame, but it's not too bad. So now let's take a look at the paint. Alright, looking at the paint, now personally I would have preferred if the color scheme to this was a more dark brown like in the film. However, I'm not going to complain too much because they did put a lot on here. We have a small handful of colors. The first one up is a nice tan, which is the main color of the ship. I think it was a decent choice. And you can see how they tried to match the die-cast paint to the plastic. Doesn't really go, but it was a good attempt. Now on top of that, we do have a dark tan or orange color. And you can see all the little nice lines. And I must admit, the paint is very neat on here. Maybe a little heavy on the tops, but for the most part, beautifully done on the tips of the guns. Underneath, just great designs. And on the sides of the vessel and the doors. Now besides that, we do have gray for the wingtips. Decent color choice. We have a dark gray, almost black for the front here. And also the engines. And then the last two colors are on the interior. We have white for the interior walls. And then brown for the MTT. And that's basically it. Now keep in mind, this was made in 1999. So when you add the paint and the detail, this is a pretty damn good piece. So now that we're done looking at the mold and paint, let's put this beauty on a stand, compare it to some other vessels, and then we'll be done. And just like most titanium ships, comes with a cool stand. Peg it in the port like so. And you're good to go. Alright, for a cool size comparison, I decided to put what this ship carries next to it. So right here, of course, we have our C-9979 landing craft. On the left, we have the MTT transport, and as we saw, one of these bad boys is in the ship itself. And then also to the right, we have the Trade Federation battle tank, also known as the AAT. Very nice ships. And all these ships are under the Star Wars Titanium banner. And that does it today for my review of the Star Wars Titanium C-9979 landing craft. Again, this was first seen in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and for its length, it's 1 3/4 inches long, and about 4 1/4 inches wide, which is pretty sick. Now you already know my views on this vessel and the prequels in general, so I'm just going to cut to the chase and say what's good and bad about this vessel. So first of all, the detail. It's got tons of it. I mean a lot. I really like how it has moving parts as well. You got the turrets on the top and the opening bay door down here with that little MTT. That's great. It doesn't have no gimmicks. It's just, it opens up. There's a transport. That's what it did in the movie, and that's what I like. Now for the paint. They did a decent job. Like I said before, I would have preferred a brown, but this ain't too bad. Now I think its best quality is the orange/dark tan on top. It's very clean, nice designs on there. I love it. Now the issue is, the paint is very heavy in some spots, and it covers that beautiful detail. And it's a shame, it really is. Now you also get that stand, which unifies it with the rest of the titanium collection, which is important to me. So if you're looking to buy this, I would suggest going on eBay, maybe checking Amazon. Sometimes these ships are very cheap. Other times they could be sky high, so you gotta be patient and just look around. So I recommend this ship for anybody who's a fan of the Phantom Menace, the Clone Wars, or the Trade Federation or CIS. It's a great looking ship, a very unique one, and I think it will go great in your collection. So that's everything I have to say about this ship today. I hope you enjoyed my review. If you did, hit that like button, and if you'd like to see new reviews every Thursday, subscribe. Again, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.